Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to a brand new video here today, and welcome to 6 things I think could be improved and made even better in F1 2019, the game, and more so a lot of it is to do with career mode, obviously, shock horror, but features that are in the game that are pretty good, but I think could be made even better with some slight adjustments or some big adjustments for the next year's game, 2020. I know we're already talking about it, but, you know, there's such great features that have been put in for this year's game specifically, but it makes you think, you know, what if this, what if that, and they could just elevate it to an even higher level and just make things even more enjoyable. So let's get into the list then and start off with number 1 is going to be that F2 story mode at the very start of career mode. Now, I personally really enjoyed the F2 story mode. A lot of you guys did. Some maybe didn't if that's not your kind of cup of tea, but I think it was a really good addition to the game. You know, added that kind of sense of story and kind of sense of immersion and belonging in the kind of universe, if you will. You know, against Lucas Weber, Devin Butler, seeing them come up with you to F1 was really great. The cutscenes were done really well, and the scenarios they put you in were also really interesting. You know, scenarios where you would see in real life, you know, issue with the turbo, do you let your teammate through, or, you know, are you going to go ahead and attack and be aggressive with your rival after he's taken you out and whatnot, and what you're going to say to him afterwards, and that entire thing. But they could have just done so much more and make it a bit more expansive, really, and kind of extend it maybe into Season 1 of the F1 game. That would be really, really cool to see, because they've done that before in other sports games. I said it at the time when we found out about the F2 story mode, but I think it was NBA 2K. They have a kind of first season where it's all kind of blended in with this kind of story mode and story arc, and then it kind of ends and you have the rest of the normal career modes. I think there's scope to do that maybe. I think obviously you can not do it if you don't want to. Like I said, that's not your cup of tea, but if you do kind of like that kind of stuff, I think it'd be really great to expand upon that, or just extend the F2 part, essentially. I know a lot of people are harking on about why isn't there a full F2 season before your career mode. Personally, for me, not too bothered, because I feel like I would personally get quite bored of an entire F2 season before F1. I just kind of would want to skip ahead. So for me, the scenarios were good of 3, maybe extend it to 5 scenarios, flesh out even more maybe what you do in each one, because there were only kind of 3-4 laps each scenario, minus the last one where you kind of did the entire sprint race in Abu Dhabi. So maybe just make them a little bit longer each scenario. But the number they had I thought was pretty good, but they can definitely just elevate it that little bit more for 2020 and future F1 games. Obviously, we don't know what they're exactly going to do in 2020, but that's definitely something I like to see. Number 2, now this comes off the back of the F2 story mode, but in general, cutscenes and integration of kind of Lucas Weber and Devin Butler, and even the other F1 drivers as well, I think just needs to be a little bit more. There needs to be more fleshed out of that interaction between driver to driver, especially with the driver transfers now being a thing. I think they could do a lot more with potential cutscenes of kind of generic lines the drivers could say, although it might get repetitive after a few seasons. It would be really great for the first few to have those kind of things, because it was a shame to know that the cutscenes that we saw in F2, that was it. That was going to be it. I was talking to, actually, I remember Matt from WF1 before the game came out, and talking about those cutscenes. Both of us really loved them, but then he said it was such a shame not to kind of see them be kind of in Season 1, full stop, basically, just kind of stop after the F2 story mode. So if they continue those on, especially if they're going to put this emphasis on the fake drivers in interviews, in these press clippings, they really should have maybe thought about also doing some cutscenes later down the line. Of course, I don't know, time constraints or logistics of that, but definitely something I could see would improve it a lot. And also, like I said, with driver transfers, it'd be really cool to see the official F1 drivers also in some cutscenes here and there, maybe the end of the season, to kind of just basically flesh that entire kind of scenario out of, you know, there's an actual real world out there. The drivers are kind of, you know, realistic, immersive, getting that kind of immersion going for you as a player, that you're actually driving against real drivers. Obviously, we know we're not, but the better they can do that, the better experience you get. Number 3, obviously a big game feature for this year that we didn't even know was going to come until right at the end when the game came out, driver transfers. Now, amazing that they finally have driver transfers in it. It's a really good mechanic system right now in terms of the randomization. I do like the kind of bonkers transfers, and just the fact we have driver transfers alone is amazing, but they can improve it. You know, we're gonna, you know, basically be quite critical here and see what they can do better with the transfers. I think there needs to be more kind of work on the rumors you get of the transfers, kind of know what's going to happen, especially at the end of the season. I want to know what the big rumors are, not just where Devin Butler and Lucas Weber are going to go. Where is Sebastian Vettel going to go? Where is Max Verstappen going to go? Because that might influence my decision. If there's a rumor that, you know, Hamilton is going to move to X team, then I might want to move to X team, I want to challenge him and be his teammate maybe. Or if Verstappen's going to move to Y team, maybe I don't want to move to Y team because I don't want to be his teammate. I want to be up against him in a different team because I don't know, I have a rivalry with him or whatnot. Same sort of thing. So a little bit more on the rumours, and then talking of the deals. Let's talk through the deals. We've seen that in FIFA when they do contract negotiations and transfers of the players. Obviously, you're not the manager in this case, you're the player, but it would be cool to see the contract negotiations done in a bit of a more finessed way, kind of, cut scene. That would be very, very cool if you step into the office of the agent of the other team and you discuss things like salary and whatnot, and where you are going to be, a first driver, second driver, the perks there, but just kind of flesh out in a bit of a more suave way, if you will. But then also have talk of those deals in the emails. If Hamilton moves to a different team, I want to kind of, know the details of that. It'd be kind of cool to know if he's going to get any perks at that team. Don't need to give away everything. Maybe just know that the press clipping could say, we do know from news though that he's got, perk level 3 on the upgrades basically. So the team, going to next season then, that team might be upgrading quite rapidly or might be upgrading quite slow if they only have perk level 1 on Hamilton's contract. I don't know. Obviously, the AI, I'm pretty sure they don't have any of their own contract systems, so they don't actually get affected. The AI teams don't get affected by these things like perks, but it would be awesome if they could somehow in the back end rejig it a little bit and actually make that a thing where each AI team and each AI driver has these systems in play, just like the player, and so therefore we can actually get more info on that when they transfer from team to team. And I've said it before, but like a fake in-game salary would be kind of cool just to flesh it out a little bit more, just to say that, oh yeah, Ricciardo's moved to Renault, obviously, like he did in real life for X amount, big money move. It would be cool to have that in the press clippings then as well, just to add a bit more realism, basically. It might not mean much, they could tie it into, obviously you have to sometimes buy with in-game currency some of the customized helmets and whatnot, and the gloves and whatnot for multiplayer and stuff like that. They could tie it into that potentially in terms of in-game currency you earn in career mode can be used then in multiplayer as well as offline to just buy some fancier helmets. If they just add more helmet designs, some more fancier ones, they could kind of work that into it. But I just think they could do a lot more now, building upon this foundation they've got. Really solid baseline of having driver transfers in the game now finally, but let's build upon it for next year's game and for future F1 games and try and just keep on working at it and keep on adding to it, because I feel like there's maybe 10 plus features alone that can springboard off driver transfers in career mode and make a real big difference. Number 4 is going to be the R&D tree. Now, it hasn't really changed too much ever since we got it in F1 2017. Obviously, we've got the unique trees. Each team has unique trees now, and you have that kind of difference of what we had in 2017 to 2018 and 2019 in terms of how some of the trees look, in terms of the way they were shaped did change from game to game. But I've said it before, in terms of the engine side of things, I think it could be a thing of making it a bit more realistic, of having the engine part of the R&D tree emphasize a little bit more with the factory teams and have that play off to customer teams. If I'm a customer team, maybe I don't get as much resources to spend on the engine department, but because of that, I'm also going to get free engine upgrades when and if the factory team does their own big updates. And if you're a factory team, there are certain upgrades on the R&D path where it says to you that if you do this upgrade, the customer teams will also get this upgrade as well. So you can maybe try and actively, strategically avoid those big chunky upgrades that every single Mercedes engine car is going to get, because you don't want your customer teams to be as quick as you in a straight line. And then if you do want to do it, you have to bite the bullet. Ferrari are catching us, going to have to bite the bullet, go for this big upgrade. I know the other Mercedes team is going to get that, but that's just something I'm going to have to pay for. It might actually work in your favor if you drag Racing Point and Williams up with you. They might be able to fight Ferrari for you and kind of be a bit of a blockade and hurdle. I just think it could be a lot more strategic, because I know in real life I think they probably are that strategic about keeping their cars close to their chest. They always talk about, oh no, all the engines are equal, but there are probably different modes for the factory teams, and they're probably also playing a little bit of a game of, okay, when are we going to spring some upgrades here, maybe hold off for this one, maybe put this one for our car, give this option available for the other customer teams. So I think they could do a lot more with that and the fluidity. And also I think with the rise of the kind of technical sharing between Haas and Ferrari and Toro Rosso and Red Bull with the kind of rear end suspension arms and whatnot, I think there could be scope for that for the chassis side of things, or the aero, probably more chassis I would say, of having, let's say Haas and Ferrari have that affiliation, and same thing with Alfa Romeo as well, and then Toro Rosso and Red Bull have that affiliation. Maybe have the option of, you spend an X amount early on in the season as a kind of affiliation package, and so you get free updates then trickling in from Ferrari on your chassis side, or you go, no, I don't want affiliation with you guys, I'm going to save my R&D points and do it all my own way. You don't get the free upgrades, but maybe let's say your upgrades become that little tiny bit cheaper. I don't know, I'm just flinging out some ideas of how you can make things very, very different and so much more customizable, and so everyone playing the F1 game has such a different experience of R&D. So you guys watching my videos have a totally different experience when you play it to yourself, when you play against your friends and can kind of compare and contrast what you've got going on in each other's games. It will be totally different, basically. Number 5 are going to be the interviews. They haven't changed too much since we got them, and this year they've gotten a little bit weird because there's so many questions about Lucas Weber and Devon Butler. I think they missed a trick with that in terms of the driver transfers as well. I think for next year, now that now that we all know transfers are in there, I think they can build features around transfers again. And with interviews, I think we should be able to kind of maybe toy a little bit with the press and the teams in the paddock in general about talking about certain drivers moving teams, certain teams going for new drivers. Obviously, in real life, you don't really see drivers swaying other drivers to move teams. But I think in the video game, I think it would be quite fun for the player to be able to kind of chuck out some rumors or chuck out some opinions on Verstappen moving teams here, or Gasly moving teams here, or Vettel moving teams here, and that could actually affect and sway the rumors you then get in the emails, and then thus affect the transfers that actually happen mid-season or next season following the winter break. I think it would be quite good as a mechanic to also do that for yourself as well, in terms of having more pressing questions about where are you going to go, are you thinking of leaving or moving. That might also change your contract negotiations. If you say you might want to leave, that could be a 50-50 chance of then at the next contract negotiation with your own team, it could mean that you get much better perks for cheaper in terms of reputation level, or the team really don't like that answer, and so your next renegotiation, you basically get level 1 and everything, whereas before you were on level 3 basically, and so you just get that more kind of impact, if you will, of the interviews. For again, I've said it now for the last 2 years, the interviews just don't have enough of an impact, in my opinion, to really care too much about that in terms of some of the answers, because sometimes I do answer one way and it kind of goes for sportsmanship or showmanship, but you don't really see a big effect. I would like more kind of hard-hitting questions of driver transfers, drivers, your teams, your own team, and for it to really sway things and shake things up, because in reality, if you did mess up and answer a wrong way in the press, they're going to kill you for it. They're going to really go hammer for it. They're going to clickbait it out of hell in reality in the press and the media, and it would be a big deal. And finally, number 6, customization. We saw coming to the F1 game with multiplayer with the custom liveries and custom helmets. Obviously, it's not possible in the career mode to see that customization, so this is why I said this was the one only point of this entire video that's not career mode based, it's more multiplayer based. But for the helmets, I guess, of both offline and online, is just way more customization. Allow console players, and PC for that matter, but obviously PC guys have the mods, but allow console players to actually make helmet liveries now. We've got customization now. We've got that new front end menu on the helmet screen where you choose your helmet, and the helmet's now displayed so much larger than ever was before. Allow us to actually have a bit of a livery editor and edit the helmet just like they have in Call of Duty, and kind of have the shapes there and just give us generic shapes. Same thing for the livery. Yeah, customization is great for the liveries of choosing custom designed, already predetermined liveries, but it's kind of a halfway customization. It's custom, but you have to choose from the ones we give you. Allow us to start designing some basic liveries. I think would be very, very cool. Would go a long way in terms of that, having that personalization for the players, for the liveries, for the cars, but more so also for the helmets. That'd be a big thing because that's also used in career mode and online, so it'd be kind of more of a broader kind of sheet. And I think for the fact that you're showing off the helmets a lot more now in the main menus, it's kind of a no-brainer in my opinion, just to kind of have that bigger baseline of making that next step of customization in the game basically. But those being 6 things that are 6 features that I think could be improved upon and made even better in F1 2019, the game and career mode, more so for those kind of first 5 points. If you guys did agree with those points, then be sure to let me know in the comments below, and if you did disagree, maybe let me know, or if you can think of other kind of features that are in the game that are good features but could be made even better, then let me know in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button. If you're new around here, do get subscribed for weekly full-on content. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.